On this episode of the 520 Collective Podcast, we're taking a look at how people are listening to music in 2023, and it may be a bit surprising. We also have the host of the YouTube channel, Getting Things Done, JDun, on the Industry Insider interview. Let's go.
Just a flip of the watch, it's game time, 20. Just a flip of the watch, it's game time, on it. Just a flip of the watch, it's game time, on it. Just a flip of the watch, it's game time, game time. Message heavy, don't prime show, they not ready. Race against the time like four wheels and hands ready. Keep it steady, beat it hard and they belly. Give them ears to hear the truth in the light. Don't confetti, message heavy, don't prime show, they not ready. Race against the time like four wheels and hands ready. Keep it steady, beat it hard and they belly. Give them ears to hear the truth in the light. Don't confetti, just a flip of the watch, it's game time, flip of the watch, it's game time, just a flip of the watch, it's game time, 20. Flip of the watch, it's game time, just a flip of the watch, it's game time, flip of the watch, it's game time, 5, just a flip of the watch, it's game time, 520, flip of the watch, it's game time, 520.
All right, welcome to this month's 520 Collective Podcast. It's season 5, episode 1, and I got my guys Zero for Hire and KD the Vessel with me. What's good, fellas?
What's up?
Oh, what up? Happy New Year.
Yeah, man. 2023 is here. Here we are. Zero's fancy with his tea in a mug.
Just a little thirsty, you know.
Sure.
Real
all that
good,
winter
man.
air is just sucking all of the moisture out. Just have to.
Just saying though, where can I get my 0 hour coffee mug?
Probably at like Kmart. Is Kmart? If you can find a Kmart, it's probably there. Yeah, man. Indie Christian Culture, 520 Collective Podcast. You know what to do. Follow us where you follow people, but mainly 520collective.com. So make sure you tune in there. But hey, this episode is being sponsored by Eternity, who recently dropped his newest EP, Dreaming. Dreaming by Eternity is currently available on all digital music platforms. Make sure you check out the official video for the title track, featured now on 520collective.com. So definitely go check it out, man. He was actually one of the finalists for our EP/mixtape of the year at the Wavemaker Awards, which just happened. Shout out to all the winners of the Wavemakers. Shout out to Trackstars for partnering with us. All the different sponsors that jumped in and sponsored an award. But I wanted to ask you guys what you thought of the Wavemaker Awards and how they turned out, and was there any surprises, any standouts from the winners for you guys?
Shout out to Brinson, man, and the whole God Chasers squad for pulling through. That was dope. There was a lot of congratulatory, chat. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody was extremely supportive in the chat, and I really wanted to see that. So even the cats who were all kind of nominated in the same category, maybe didn't win, but still celebrated individuals who did win, and I think that was dope. Super mature. We see a whole lot more of that.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Brinson. He took 3 of the awards this year: Artist of the Year, Project of the Year, and cover art for his album Before You Crash the Sky. Oatmeal, Rookie of the Year, another God Chasers artist. TLS, man, the TLS squad were well represented at this year's award as well. So what were you going to say, Zero? You started to say something.
I was not able to be as supportive as I had planned, as I and everyone in my family got sick that exact weekend. So we pulled out.
I mean, we wouldn't expect anything less from you, Zero.
That's fine. Sure, we'll go with that.
Eric want to see your doctor's note, bro.
Man, I got a feeling he's just gonna have like the upper hand for the next few weeks.
Hey, I keep my expectations low, okay? But, anything else that's been going on for you guys? How was the new year? How's everything starting?
Everything is in flux over here, man. We're getting ready to move to Arkansas, like I said. So when we're not on screen, it's just like constant. That's kind of been taking up a lot of my time aside from work and stuff.
Well, new year brings goal setting and reevaluation and resolutions and all these different things, right? And I think for us, we're always, while we're thinking about a lot of different stuff as it pertains to the culture, we're always keeping an eye out on what's happening music-wise around here at FiveTwenty Collective. And there was I wish I could remember where I saw it. I saw someone pose the question, are people even still listening to playlists anymore? And I was like, that's interesting. And I had my thoughts, and I want to circle back around to that, but I can't remember where I saw the question, where it was brought up. And I tried to go back and find it, and I couldn't. But that led me down a rabbit hole of just kind of looking and seeing what people were talking about for the way that we are consuming music in the new year. And there's a lot of interesting chatter going on that I think is worth us talking about, because artists in the faith-based hip-hop space to really be considering about how they are going to present their content this year, man. And I came across this article from The Guardian. The title of the article was, "There's endless choice, but you're not listening. Fans quitting Spotify to save their love of music." So obviously for the past, decade, streaming and specifically Spotify has been king, right? I mean, Apple Music, I guess, in there as well. Those are the two big ones, but Spotify has been kind of just the default for music for a while now, it seems like. The article brings up a lot of interesting points that I want to hit on. It also kind of goes back to that idea of, are people using playlists as well, right? Like where I started at. I started thinking about it, and I was like, dude, like I think I get what it's saying, because I don't necessarily go and listen to like editorial playlists, right? If I'm going to listen to a playlist, it's typically a playlist that I have created, right? So if I'm only listening to my personal playlist, there's like zero discoverability, right? Because I'm not putting random stuff that I don't know onto my playlist. Let's start there, and then we'll dive into some of the points of the article, man, because I want to see what you guys think. But what do you think about the idea of playlists? I think there's been so many eggs put into that playlist basket over the last handful of years, and I feel like it's honestly changing. What do you guys think?
I'm going to use the word of the year from 2022. So a lot of this has always been gaslighting. It's like, oh, this is the great new thing that you love. And every year we get a dozen or so record companies or radio stations. They're like, hey, here's 20 songs. This is what you like now. And it's like, I've always been pretty anti-establishment. I don't appreciate people just telling me like, this is what you like now, because that's not what I am into. I choose the music I'm into. I choose what's safe for my family, what's okay for my kid. And I think having kids is a big part of that for me. There's a lot of control in my environment that I have to take seriously, being the head of the household. In that position, that's a big part of it. It's like, yeah, there's stuff that I enjoy, or, hey, I remember that song, but like I can't just willy-nilly let anything play in the car, because I don't know if I have to like turn down the volume for that one lyric or that one line that might be questionable. And it's weird that I even have to say that, because I mostly listen to Christian music. But even in Christian music now, you have to just like be prepared to turn it down when you got your kids in the car. So whether it's secular or Christian, like that's a big deal. Is like, you can't have uncontrolled streams coming into your home and say that you take it seriously if you're like living a godly life in terms of like what you provide to your family or what you allow your family into. Those are some of my thoughts to start with. I mean, there's deeper areas I can go, but those are the three main things. Is I feel like I'm being sold to. I feel like I can't trust the unmonitored stream. And I'm a grown man. I don't want people telling me what to do.
But what people don't realize is that Spotify is not great for the consumer or for the content creator. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a gang of followers, monthly listeners. You got to have a gang of streams. So we talking about for your favorite artists, you're not supporting them by Spotify. You know what I'm saying? Spotify in that space and in that voice, this really becomes another platform. I think we're going to see a migration, and I'm sure this will be a part of our conversation as well. I think we're going to see a migration of a lot of artists. We already see some artists willing to redirect traffic to more artist-supportive sites and platforms into their own websites as well.
that gets into like the heart of what the article was talking about, right? And it is our interaction with music, right? That's what makes listening to music and being a music fan special. You know, one thing that it said in this article is that music needs to be an experience and not just a tool to create an experience, right? So streams and with building these playlists and everything, right? People, it's like we don't really care what's going on in the song. We're trying to say what music will help set this mood for this event that I want to have. Streaming has made music throwaway and disposable because there's no true connection. That's where we're at. And you know, Zero was talking about, you know, we listen to MP3s, we listen to CDs. Like, I'm still a big CD guy myself. So MP3s, CDs, other DIY formats really grew in 2022, and it wasn't by chance, it wasn't random, and it's something that artists need to be paying attention to and get out in front of, especially in a space like Christian hip-hop. You know, whenever you don't have those tangible items that you can hold in your hand, you know, that you actually own, it's easy to not be worried about it, right? To let it go and move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But one thing that happened in 2022 is we've seen an increase of people going back to MP3s, you know, buying old iPods and downloading music to it. We've seen an increase in CD sales.
So to just imagine, like, that's how sick of this system people are, that they're almost willing to do anything.
But here's what we're seeing though. But dude, think about this. I saw Big Stowe talking about this on Twitter today, actually. You can get 100 CDs printed up right now for like $2 a CD. There are people literally out here selling those CDs for $10, $20, $30, $50. I think it is because it's almost like brand new for a lot of listeners, like these mediums. You know, getting away from streaming and turning it back into a physical connection. Yes, it's expensive maybe up front, but the return on it right now is crazy, especially compared to 20 years ago. There wasn't anyone that was going to pay $50 for a CD back in 2007.
Are there people paying $50 for a CD now?
Yeah.
Unless you putting a t-shirt and some other stuff along with it, don't you be out here charging people no $30, $40, $50 for it.
People
You
are,
have to
man.
like blow yourself up and die like that one episode of
Don't do
Daffy
that,
Duck.
man. Look, unless it's
That's gotta
a
be like the
double
best
album,
performance
bro.
ever.
If it ain't a double album, man, don't be out here charging nobody no $30, $40, $50 for a CD. Don't do that. Look,
That's
I understand
insane.
taking advantage of the marketplace. Don't you do it.
If you do a really, really good performance, you can get people to spend higher than normal prices.
You sell CDs, man, but and for me, it's always been that people want to have that tangible. When at the end of the show, at the end of the night, if I've fallen in love with what you did, if what you said spoke to me, if God used you, I need what you did, and I want to take that home, and I want to have that reminder that streaming doesn't allow. And it allows for artists to be lazy. It allows for artists to be entitled. It allows for artists to be even more self-absorbed. Why? Because at the end of the day, you feel as though all you got to do is put a project out. You ain't really got to market it. Get out here and put it out here, and because it's out here, you feel as though people are going to consume it. Nothing could be absolutely further from the truth.
And so let me throw this out there, because yes, you got what you guys are saying 100% right. You have that if you buy a physical album at a show, you've got those memories attached to it, right? But there's also something else at play here whenever you're talking about physical music. And one of the quotes that I read in this article that stood out to me was this guy that they were talking to said, hey, you know, if I don't gel with an album or an artist's work at first, I tended not to go back to it. Talking about streaming, right? Even if I don't buy your album at a show, right? If I buy it off your website, if I buy it off Amazon, if I buy it at a store, whatever, however I get that physical product, I have something in my hand that's not easy for me to just turn my back on, because I can touch it. It's right there. And it's a reminder of, yo, you invested this money into it, right? Whenever you're talking about listening on Spotify, however, it's not that kind of connection where you're thinking, even if you're paying a monthly cost, you know, a monthly fee to use Spotify, it doesn't register in your brain as I'm paying for this music. I'm paying for this platform, right? I'm paying for this platform that has an endless amount of music.
You're paying the platform.
Yeah. And so I don't care. I don't have to feel like I've got to give your music a fair shot. But if I went and I bought a CD, I went and I've actually downloaded your music, whatever, I don't want to feel like I just wasted my money.
There's no participation in creation involved in streaming.
But this is the stuff that artists need to understand, because there's so many of them that think that they do not
have. Let's look a little darker. Do we know whether or not music industry paid the auto industry to take CD players out? Anybody know? Do we have like any reported conversation?
Whoa.
You gotta buy an older car to get a CD player in it, right? The only thing that there we go. The only thing that we have is the fact that, listen, you cannot buy a modern vehicle that has a CD player in it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that you can do is Bluetooth or get Sirius XM radio, which is what
it just don't knock it hard. It just don't.
Oh, so you mean I can't use a physical anything that I want to do? So now you're trying to obsolete an entire vehicle of music delivery that the consumer might prefer, but you're telling that consumer, hey, you know what, you don't need that. If you're traveling back and forth, and we know that you want to have the latest vehicle with all the bells and whistles, but what those bells and whistles don't include is a place for you to play your CD. So that means now I want you to discard that experience, discard that artist. You find their music digitally, that's great. If you compare, if you get an aux cord, whatever you want to do, get a USB, plug it in. But guess what? Even with that, you don't have the physical thing to hold in your hand, don't have the picture to look at, the cover art and all that other stuff. Like we're telling you, hey, this is obsolete. So even in an entire different industry, we are shaping the way that you listen to music. But look what you gave up too for convenience. You gave up quality, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a depth of sound and a feel that comes along with music that is on a CD, music that is on an LP. So we talk about wax, we're talking about vinyl. There is a feel and there's a quality. There's almost kind of like an analog type of thing, man. It comes along with having that physical sound that you cannot replicate with a digital version. You can master it a gang of different ways. You cannot replicate the same feel, the depth of feel that you get from a CD or a hard copy of a musical composition. Cannot replicate that with a digital version. So for convenience, we've given up quality. A lot of people don't care about that, but at the end of the day, when you think about what's missing from what used to be a part of your music experience, that's a part of it.
We just keep diluting that to the point to where we don't even go out and buy music anymore. The algorithm serves it up and you swipe one way or you swipe the other. And it's just content at that point. It's not even like music.
But again, like Eric mentioned, you're paying for the platform. You're not paying the artist.
Well, and then, we don't have to go through all of these, but for people who are worried about like, well, if I stop using Spotify, how am I going to come across artists, right? If I'm not part of that algorithm, right? They actually put 6 ways to find new music without streaming services into this article. And one thing that makes a ton of sense is get plugged into a community of people who have a similar interest as you in music, and you replace this AI algorithm with the human algorithm.
I feel bad for laughing at people who like, well, how am I going to find music? That's kind of dumb, actually.
But the human algorithm is huge, man.
Word of mouth, like it's supposed to be.
That's like a conversation starter. What kind of music do you listen to? What do you mean? How do I find music?
What do you mean conversation? We don't talk to each other.
Right.
Well, yeah, and it does seem like it's largely contributed to the death of the local music scene and the death of conversation, personal interaction, things like that, which I still think part of that is intentional.
And that's where, a few of these things I totally agree with that they put on here on 6 ways to find new music. Some of them I'm like, because like one of them they said local record stores. How many local record stores still exist at this point? Not a whole lot.
That's a community institution, and it would be profitable and could come back.
Well, you should just be able to go to the record store, man, and slap on some headphones, man, and check out what you wanted to listen to. And man, you know what? This is so dope. Let me buy this and let me take it home. I'm going to play the whole thing.
Katie, what you're saying, man, this goes right back into something that I've been saying for a while, and actually is kind of the final thought in this article as well, right? Where there's a need for systemic change in the music industry. And where does that come from? Where does that start? I mean, honestly, it comes from artists. That's where it's got to come from, right? artists have to say, no, this is how I want you to consume my music. This is how I want you to access it. And yeah, it may be different than what people are doing right now. That's okay. I've said this before. If you give people a link to click on, they're going to click on it. It doesn't matter where it goes. It's still convenient for them to click on that link, right? So set up a Bandcamp where you give them a song or two that they can listen to on there, get them interested, and then you can still sell them either downloads that they own, or you can even sell those physical copies on Bandcamp. We say it that everyone needs a website. I agree. I get it that maybe you're not there. Bandcamp is a nice option. You know, I've seen some very successful people in music that don't actually have their own website. They buy a URL and they point it at their Bandcamp, and Bandcamp becomes their website. Right? That's okay.
Yeah, that's legit.
It's all right.
I do the same thing with my Audio Mac page.
Yeah. The one thing I can promise, though, is that nothing's going to change without artists and media. And I don't know, like, record labels are in a weird place in all this at this point. I think it's got to come with artists and the people that are pushing the artist, changing the narrative, changing the story that's being put out there to get people to go with us to those places.
Well,
right?
One thing I definitely want to make sure that we do and don't do. I want the don't do is easy. We don't blame the fans for streaming. Like, I don't want fan blaming. That's not their fault.
Yeah, streaming wasn't created by them.
Yeah.
Fans are going where we're telling them to go because they want to support.
Exactly. But the artists, what we don't want to do is encourage artists to keep on this path, because the struggle between the record label and the streaming platform and the radio and all of this, that struggle should exist. And the only reason we're at the point that we're at is because artists have become complacent and lazy because they've been willing to trade off quality for convenience. It's easy to just throw a song up on Spotify and hope it does well. But like, if you're a rock and roll artist, your music is supposed to be destructive. If you're a hip hop artist, your music is supposed to be dangerous. But like, a lot of these artists are neither destructive nor dangerous. They're not challenging the system, and they're just going along to get along, and they're wondering why they keep getting screwed every month. It's because you're not doing anything to shake it up. The artists have literally become the equivalent of the journalists in the news media industry. They just report, the journalists just do what they're told now. They just go along with the narrative. The artists are the same way. How many numbers do I get? How many streams? What playlists am I on? Right. That's not artistry. Yep. You're just helping management manage what you created. So now you get to be an artist and an administrator. Do something to shake it up.
It's not. The industry in and of itself, whatever industry you want to apply this to, has never been more cookie cutter than it is right now. Like,
it's sad.
Nobody's breaking ranks. So you have, and a lot of times, so you'll have those one or two artists who do break rank, and they do something different, and it seems like it. But the reason they stand out is because they're just simply not doing it like everybody else is. Shout out to the artists, to the platforms, to the independent labels. Shout out to go a different route.
And to the artists, man, don't be fooled. Don't buy into that. No one will buy your music if you make it available in a physical way. It's just simply not true. There's people like me that's how I prefer to listen to my music, is on a CD. The numbers back it up, right? CD sales were higher in 2022 than they've been in a decade. People are looking for this connection. And when you get people connected in this way to your music, you are creating fans. Not only are you creating fans, but you're creating an opportunity for that higher revenue. And if you're truly saying, I want to be an artist and I want to be able to do this full time, look at the guys that are actually doing it full time, especially in Christian hip hop. They are not relying on streaming services to be able to do it full time. It's the truth, man. Whether you want to believe it or not, you may have to look in the mirror and realize that you bought into a lie. That's okay. It's okay. Change it. Do something different. New year, man. Let's do it different. Right? So I want to know from people listening, how are you consuming music? What's your preferred way to listen to music? You can go to FiveTwentyCollective.com, jump in the comments for our podcast post. Let us know on there. You can leave, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave comments in below the video. But I want to know, how are you listening to music so that we can help artists see, oh, wait, there is a different way and a better way for me to do this, right? And man, let's get back to being actual, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Let's be true appreciators of music as fans as well, right? I think we've lost some of that appreciation. Well, we've lost some of that appreciation, you know? It just is something that's just there. We need to we need it to be special to us as well. And finding ways to actually tie ourselves to it, like actually owning the music, it plays a big factor in doing that. So let us know how you're listening to music out in 2023, how you want to listen to it. Do you want to get back into a particular medium when it comes to your music experience? I want to know, man. I'm interested to see that. But make sure you stick around after the break. We've got the Industry Insider interview coming up. And again, we've got the host of Getting It Done on YouTube, our guy JDun. He's here talking about VR and the metaverse and a lot of cool stuff coming up, man. So make sure you stick around for that. Shout out to our guy Eternity. Make sure you go check out his new EP, Dreaming. Thank you for being the sponsor of this month's episode. And we'll be back with the Industry Insider interview after this break. Welcome to this month's Industry Insider interview, brought to you officially by Bookkeeper247.com. What's up, and welcome to the Industry Insider interview here on the FiveTwenty Collective Podcast. As always, we are being sponsored by the Bookkeeper 24/7. Check them out at tbk247.com. And joining me on the FiveTwenty Collective phone line right now, my dude JDun is in the building. What's good, man?
Man, I am just excited to be with the fam, man. It's been a long time coming to finally be on the podcast, man. I don't know what's up with that. We're going to talk about it another time, man. I don't know what, I should have been on this. I'm playing with you, man. I'm just excited, brother. Rapture Productions has always been a big fan of FiveTwenty Collective and what you guys have been doing. We're basically family for years. So I'm just excited, man, to be on this podcast and just talking about what's going on in our space, man.
You know, you're not lying, dude. So for those who don't know, JDun and I, we got connected through the Christian hip hop space. And like you say, you mentioned Rapture Productions. So that's your label. Like, give the people who may not know just a little rundown, a little history of Rapture Ready and what y'all have been doing with that.
Yeah, man. Rapture Productions. Real quick, mission statement's real simple. Equip, uplift, and shift Christian culture through various media outlets. And that's what we've been doing for the last 6 years of operation. We launched in 2016 officially around April 7th. And we have been pushing the gospel of Jesus Christ in all ways that we can through various different ways of media. That's music, that's videos, that's books, that's podcasts. And now, a little bit of YouTube and a few other things we'll probably be talking about real soon. But yeah, man, that's what Rapture Productions is. We have two labels. We have the one, Rapture Productions, which we call headquarters. That's South here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And then we have the amazing opportunity we had to launch Rapture North. Shout out to a alumni, a person who's been pushed on FiveTwenty a lot. BRM, my brother, man, he runs Rapture North, CEO of Rapture North. So he's based in Chicago. So we actually have two labels that we are actively pushing with almost close to 14, 15 artists as a whole. So it's a lot that goes on, man. It's a lot. We can sit here and talk all day just about that.
Right, 100%, man, 100%. And you're right, dude. Like, I'll take the blame a little bit. It's been a long time coming getting you on here, man. But
man.
I mean, all things in due time, right? All things in due time.
Oh yeah, I think this is the perfect time, especially for what we're probably gonna be talking about today, for sure.
Obviously, kind of the one thing that is sort of new for you, and the thing that you have going on is you're the host of Getting Things Done on YouTube. And yeah, we definitely are going to dive into that. But I mean, I think, we definitely need to hit on, just a little bit more on Rapture Ready before we do so, because we got the opportunity to do that. So like you said, started off Rapture Ready based in Louisiana, and then you guys added with Rapture Ready North. I know BRM, like you said, he's another friend of the platform, another guy who's been supportive, and we've supported in turn with him. I know he's been busy. Like him and Brody Da Vinci, man, they are cranking music out in Rapture Ready North.
One of the greatest things, and this is just to the bone true. BRM at one time when he first was just signed just to Rapture Ready Productions, the headquarters, we were keeping him on this schedule. Like, all right, man, you're gonna drop a track, then you're gonna give it some time to breathe, then you're gonna do an album, give it some time to breathe. And I think after that first year, he was just like, look, man, I need to be unleash me, basically it's like, let me just be an unchained animal. I'm gonna rock the brand. I'm gonna put it on my back, but let me go and drop this music. And man, it's one of the greatest decisions we could have ever did was just to let him be him. A lot of times with labels, this is a perfect way to kind of just intro into talking more about Rapture Ready. A lot of times when I was younger and I was looking in the music business, because of course we all have a past. I was a secular artist prior to becoming a CHH artist, and then of course becoming a CEO of a label. I looked at contracts. I dealt with different artists. I've been around those rooms and in those spaces. And a lot of times you're controlled, and the narrative is that the label knows best, right? The label knows exactly what you need to do, how you need to market, who you're marketing to, who they want to market you, and why they want to market you, and why they even want to bring you onto the label. Well, with Rapture Ready, from the very beginning, it was always about the artist. It was their unique sound, their unique voice, and how they show the gospel forth. When we first started Rapture Ready, it was just me and my brother Jay Knight. Shout out to my brother, the Rapture Ready running back himself, Jay Knight. It was just me and him, and he has a dynamic voice, a great lyricist. But we both were rappers. We didn't have worship leaders. We didn't have any female artists and anything like that. So it was beginning to, we started from nothing, and then we began to branch out and get more younger people, and then eventually we moved out of state, and it just grew and grew and grew. And now we have worship leaders, pastors. It's amazing over the 6 years. The prophetic utterance says that we're setting music way back in some of our earlier music in 2016 that, we will be at one day have, multiple locations. And this is all in the vision. I want to say this to anyone who's listening to the podcast, because they may see, Rapture Ready might not be the biggest name in the world. They may look at a reach, they may look at a God over money, and they might go, oh man, how do I get there? Or even when they do look at Rapture Ready, they might say, well, man, I'm not where you guys are at. How do I get there? Write the vision down, make it plain, that he that readeth will run with it. That is scripture, So we wrote a vision. It's proof. We have it saved from way back in 2016 that we would have multiple locations, that we would have artists all across the globe, that we would do things that would separate us from any other label, and never sell out or bow down to the secular system, and always bringing forth the gospel with power and demonstration. That was all a part of the vision way back in 2016. So to fast forward and see some of the things that's happening today, even the dynamic things we're doing, like I said, that we'll be talking about soon, like the metaverse and things like that, it was all a part of a vision that was written way back in 2016. So it's just crazy to see how the growth and what's been going on with it. It's just incredible, man.
Yeah, man. And that's one thing that's always stood out to me about Rapture Ready. And I want to just dive into this just for a moment. It's not that Rapture Ready has grown up to that same level as like a Reach Records yet. But I think one thing that is maybe kind of unique for the Christian hip hop space is you do have a handful of these kind of bigger labels, right? So that's like a reflection of what you see in mainstream hip hop, mainstream music. But one thing that I think is different in the mainstream, you do have these middle tier and smaller tier labels that, you know, they're out here working and they're doing the thing, and it's a legitimate business and they do their thing. I don't think we necessarily see a lot of that in the Christian hip hop world. You see collectives, you see people getting together and working together.
Say that.
And establishing these middle tier labels that are running a business. We don't have a lot of that, but we have Rapture Ready. Is that part of when you hear people talk about where they think CHH should be? Could this be a part of, well, this is maybe why we're not there yet, because we're missing some, you know, this step right here? I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's a perfect thing you just said. Here's the thing. I used to want to be, you know, of course, every CHH artist. Come on, show of hands and listening to this podcast. Show of hands. Who didn't want to be signed? Who doesn't want to be when they're at the peak or trying to be in a CHH game? Who doesn't want to be signed to Reach? Who doesn't want to be signed to a God Over Money type label? Come on, like that's like the two top tier, you know, labels. Of course, there's some outlanders like, you know, Derek Minor. There's some KBs, of course, like he's phenomenal and what he's doing with HGA. But it's like at the end of the day, you know, everybody shoots for that. But I want to say roughly about 2018, we started to realize our calling is not to be a Reach, not what Reach is as it stands today. Not to be another God Over Money, just to be Rapture Ready. And this is the key, bro. This is what you just said. I don't like why we're not seeing some of those middle tiers or some other labels beginning to kind of fill up that space, because no one wants to have that identity. Everyone wants to copy what another label's doing, and no one wants to put the work in to find out who they are. You know, if you listen to God Over Money versus Reach, they're two separate types of music. Yes, they make great music, but the artists that's on the label, they're different. Their attitudes towards music is different. The attitudes towards ministry is different. All of them are doing amazing things for the Lord, but it's just different. And with us, we realize it's not our calling to be that. It's our calling to be Rapture Ready. And so we go back to the core. It goes back to, it's not just music for us. It's the podcast. It's not just the podcast. It's the YouTube. It's not the YouTube. And it's the pulpit ministry. It's the street ministry. It's the evangelism. It's knowing your place. Everybody's not a finger. Everybody's not the hand. Everybody's not the elbow. Everybody's not the, you know, forearm. Like, you got to know in CHH, where do you fit? I think everyone wants to be that top tier level, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's enough there already. We need to kind of fill up the gaps and the holes in other areas. And I think that's the part of it, man. Finding your own identity.
On the phone line with me, it's JDun. He is the host of the YouTube channel, Getting Things Done. And I want to dive into that, man. You've started building something that feels special. It's unique. With your YouTube channel, man, you know, it's not just, you know, obviously I think, you know, people know that you have, you know, Rapture Ready. It would be easy to think, oh, well, he's just doing something with music on his channel, but that is not it at all. Tell us a little bit about what kind of content people find on Getting Things Done, and maybe a little bit of the inspiration for you to start this channel.
Man, love it, brother. Yeah, so Getting Things Done, the channel is all about motivating you to get things done through faith and relevant technology. That is the tagline. That is the push. So when I originally started the channel back in late 2021, around April. It's funny, April just must be the month I started up, because Rapture Ready was started in April and now this. Basically, the YouTube channel was originally started to be a kind of like me starting over as a content creator. So you're getting a little bit of my music, my gaming side, my nerdy side, and my preacher side, my motivation side. And so when my first couple of, like, maybe my first 10, 15 videos was kind of more based on motivating people to get things done. Literally, that's the whole tagline, right? So motivating people to get things done. So telling them to stop, you know, sitting on their butts, you know, get back in your purpose, stop making excuses, just motivating, you know, video game life lessons, I call them, where, you know, I take a video game from my childhood and tell a life lesson that I learned from it. But the more and more I leaned into, this is where the Holy Spirit You have to allow him to guide you. The more and more I leaned into my nerdier side, I got so much fulfillment out of that because I'm already ministering on Rapture Productions. I'm a creative pastor at a church called Beacon Light of Hammond, about 50 minutes away from where I currently stay at. And so, I'm already a leader. I'm already leading in ministry. I'm already a CEO who also does Bible studies with his team. So this YouTube channel, it was supposed to be an outlet for me to do new things creatively, but I was still trying to, go the preacher route, the music route, but I got stale, man. I got about 80 subscribers, and I stayed there probably for like 3-4 months and just could not budge. And then I almost gave up. It was like, you know what? Doesn't seem like anyone cares what I'm posting on this channel. Maybe it's time for me to stop and just, start, maybe do something else. And my wife, my lovely wife, who was my fiance at the time, she said to me, hey, I think you might want to, maybe you need to lean more into your nerdier side and just, maybe take a step back and just really pray on what the Lord wants you to do. She said, but if I was you, I would start talking about, maybe the VR headset stuff. And I'm like, oh, man, nobody wants to hear about that, especially not from this Christian guy, not from this guy, me, I'm not, I'm not going to have nothing weird or not going to have a whole lot of shooting on my channel. I don't do all that type of stuff. She's like, hey, babe, just do what you love, So I decided, I think it was right around October of 2021. I said, you know what? I'm going to start making VR, virtual reality, metaverse related content. And man, from the first video I dropped, it's hard to explain it, but the growth of the channel, it went from 80 subscribers in over taking 4 or 5 months to get to 80 subscribers to from October to December, I think I reached 500 subscribers. And then by March of this year, April, so let's say, let's say March. It was about March I reached about 500 subscribers. So let's say 3-4 months I reached 500 subscribers, and then I've just reached over 1,000. I'm actually at 1,200 now in the last couple of weeks, man. And the content is just all about metaverse, virtual reality, still with the tagline of getting things done through faith and relevant technology, because I still lean into my Christian beliefs through all of the videos I do, as well as the relevant technology, which is technology that I believe is going to be very, very important, not just for fun or for work, productivity, for working out, etc., but also for the gospel, for evangelism. So I've leaned into that heavy, man, and it's paid off for me, and that's where we're at with getting things done.
Yeah, man, and that world of tech, is huge whenever it comes to YouTube. I guess was there any kind of apprehension on your side when you're like, man, I'm going to be, obviously starting at ground level here and trying to find, my space among some pretty big influencers as far as YouTube is concerned? Like, talk about just mentally how you were preparing yourself to dive into that aspect of all.
That's so good, man. You're a good interviewer. That's a great question, because I had a channel. This is what my motivation, and this is what I had to do before Rapture really started. In 2014, I had a YouTube channel with a buddy of mine, and it was basically we had a whole podcast that we had that was about mobile, today's mobile tech, and it was a podcast where we talked about iPhone, iPad, Android. And it was going really well. It was great. We even had a video we had put on there of how we shot and edited music videos and stuff like that with an iPad only. And, it had got like over 10,000 views. And I mean, this is before YouTube, the big YouTube boom that happened like in 2016. So this is like right before, they started having a creator fund and, partner program and stuff like that. This was way before that. So, we started seeing some subscribers jump up. It was like, man, this is great. Man, just gave up on it. Just, like, what? This ain't making me no money. This ain't working. And we just didn't have the time for it anymore. We just let it go. And it's crazy because I can't even log into that account anymore. That account probably had over 10,000 subscribers. But unfortunately, YouTube purged the account because number one, it was a paid for Google account and we had stopped paying for it. And number two, right around 2018, 2019, YouTube did like this big push to get rid of like dormant YouTube channels. And at the time, I wasn't even focused. I was on Rapture. I wasn't even thinking about anything dealing with YouTube when it came down to tech and anything like that. So I just let it go. It just left, And so when I started, when I started getting things done, I kind of went back and tried to find it, and I could not find today's mobile tech. There's no remnant of it. So imagine this is before if you know the MKBHD, which is a huge tech influencer. He was a kid when this was going on, before Mr. Beast or some of these huge tech giant people on YouTube were doing anything. I had a channel that was really good. And I let it go, man, simply because of he say, she say, or man, it ain't, someone tell me, oh, that's not godly, or, man, I don't think you're going to go anywhere with that. And I believe the hype, man, and I just didn't go forth with it. Now look, here I am, much older, starting over from zero, staring at a YouTube channel that's barely getting 10 views for hard, 5-hour edits and shooting and trying to give people the best quality things with the spirit of excellence, and imagine how that feels to be staring down the barrel of YouTube when, you had a channel that already had the subscribers. If you could have just jumped on that, imagine where I would be today. If I would have kept that going from 2014, me and you might not even been talking. If we were, it'd be a whole nother conversation. I don't know. I wouldn't even be living where I'm living probably. It'd be a whole nother world, man. But I believe the Lord, even though I might have dropped the ball, even though I might have had a glimpse of what I should have been in, maybe it just wasn't the appointed time. And so I had to accept that. I had to accept the biggest thing is, so it's not for me worrying about, man, all these other people. It was really, my competition has always been me. It's always been me. I already had done it. I just stopped. So my fear was, can I not stay consistent in this long enough to see it pay off? Man, I've been doing this YouTube channel now for a year and a few months now. And it took me a year and a few months to get to, over 1,000 subscribers. But if I'm being honest with you, when you look at the statistics, it's kind of crazy because I believe only 10% of YouTubers, listen, this is like something crazy. It's like only 10% of YouTubers can get over 1,000 subscribers. And I want to say it's like 20% can only get over 100 subscribers, right? So it is a hard job to even crack that code to get 1,000 enough people to subscribe. But let me tell you something too, man. You already know this with running your ministry and business. It's hard to get family and friends to click and subscribe. It's hard to get them to share, to like, comment. You gotta think about it too. Here I am with a VR headset on. Now imagine this, bro. Imagine it. You're scrolling down your CHH timeline. I did a song with Dayton himself from God Over Money, and you come to my page and say, I wonder what's going on with JDun, and you see me with this big, huge block on my face called a Quest 2, and you're like, this dude has probably, you'll probably think this dude is went crazy. What is he doing, dancing with his wife in this little VR club? What's going on? Like, what is this, And I had so many people unfollow me on Instagram because they thought that I had just went left, I went secular, or I don't, maybe someone took over my page, or because I'm not promoting or pushing CHH as hard as I was on it, not knowing that it was a purpose behind everything with that. But regardless, it was a hard transition, bro. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was all sunshine and rainbows. I had to deal with a lot of persecution because, Christians, when you say something like the metaverse, when you say something like virtual reality, like another reality, a lot of times some religious folk, I won't even say Christians, we'll say religious folk, religious dogma, not people who really know the word of God, not people who really know the Father, and that understand that God is a God of technology tremendously more than you can ever imagine. They, they made me feel like, I was a little crazy or I was out of the way. But the crazy thing is that Now when they turn on the news, that's all they hear is the metaverse. And now when they turn on the news, all they see is virtual reality. And now they turn on the news and they see that this is a technology that's coming, whether you want it to come or not. And I have been pushing and praying and talking to spiritual leaders about, you need to begin to look at this technology now, because guess what, bro? Facebook Live, Instagram Live, YouTube Live was all the devil until the pandemic. And then once the pandemic hit, every church had to be on Facebook. Every church had to be on YouTube. Every church needed to be on Instagram Live, right? And before that, TV was the devil until they saw Billy Graham, until they saw T.D. Jakes, until they saw Creflo Dollars, until they saw other ministries that were thriving because of television and TBN, etc. And then before that, it was radio. It's like Christians are we're always behind the curve.
You talked about how, and it's weird to me, man, like how Christians kind of tend to be behind these technological advancements, but I wonder if it's even further than that. Like, it seems like the body gets behind, right? Because there's individuals that are like, they love this stuff, right? There's individuals in the body that are all about tech, and they keep up with it, and they have this knowledge. But then for some reason, when we gather as a community, the outlook's different. Like, I guess let's start there, man. Like, in your opinion, like why is that? Why does the body have such a hard, I guess, just a hard time with trying to maybe be trendsetters instead of playing catch up?
Fear. It's that simple, bro. We don't even have to break it down. I don't have to model it in such a way. It's fear. We have fear of the unknown, where we're supposed to be the ones that believe out of pure faith, walk on water. At the end of the day, we're the ones who have the most fear when it comes to technology, because we're so afraid that the end time is tied to every new wave of technology. So you don't have to be afraid of a VR headset. You don't have to be afraid of the metaverse. It's not the devil. Let me tell you something. In everything, there's good and bad.
Like you said, when you started the channel, you're trying out a few different things, right? You got to find that niche. But obviously, if you go and you start scrolling through your videos, you see you're pretty committed, to the VR, the metaverse content. Obviously, you had the vision, you saw the possibilities that VR has with it. I mean, what was it for you where you were like, okay, I'm sold, I'm leaning into this, and this is the direction that we're going with this channel?
You're not going to get mad at me, but I think a lot of people, it's going to be one of those spirit check moments. One of the biggest moments for me that sold me on VR and the metaverse and that this is the way was the community. I have been doing CHH since technically 2003. I was roughly 16, 17 years old. I had never been welcomed in such a way in all those years as I have found in VR. It's not toxic. It's not, you're beneath me, I'm above you. I'm talking about people who have 249,000 subscribers on YouTube talking to me like we're family. Someone who's works for the company that makes the headset. We're swapping pizza recipes. It's the most. This is gonna sound crazy because it's not even a God thing, but it's the most welcoming and open community I have ever seen. It's such a niche area that anyone who comes into it, they're like, hey, with open arms, welcome. You're part of the family. You're part of this believers of this early adopters of this technology.
So if there was one thing that you could highlight that you would want Christian culture to, I guess, work on implementing whenever it comes to this technology, like what would be the one thing? What would be that push that you would nudge the culture with, because it's going to create a positive impact within our community?
Very easy. Just rethink what church is. Rethink. Don't wait for another international pandemic to occur. Don't wait for another nationwide emergency. Don't wait for when things get shut down because the government takes more control, begin to look at this technology and say, how can we change lives completely different than how we've done it the last, decades or 2-3 decades with TV and media? Like, how can we enable this into our structure? Whether it's a Christian, indie culture, a follower at FiveTwenty Collective, and saying, you know what, maybe we need to have a FiveTwenty Collective world. And in that world, we have some of the music and some of the people, interviews playing in there, or an opportunity for people to meet and greet us, our fans, and meet and greet in a metaverse, or whether that's a church saying, you know what, we want to create maybe a sanctuary, a prayer line, a prayer people who log on a headset at certain times and pray for people in the metaverse. Whether that's be a Christian business who just wants to have their brick and mortar store inside of the metaverse as well. Whatever it may be, just think outside the box and begin to think about it now. It's the people who jump on early who change. It's the people who think crazy. They're the ones who change the world. And that's all it takes is just a few people to change the world. We know that with Jesus and his disciples. It only took 12, and one of those was the devil. One of those was a backstabber. One of those was a betrayer, someone who betrayed him. So you only need 11 to try to make a difference. So that's why I say, let's go forth and try to really see something change and shift here. That's what I would tell people. Just think about how you do church in the metaverse. Think about how you can begin to change lives more effectively. You can't have them come to your physical building. The only way we can touch people with the gospel of Jesus Christ is when they're physically in our building, and I think we miss it. The Bible has changed my life. The Word of God has changed my life, but I've never went to Israel. I've never stepped foot on Calvary's Hill. I've never been near the site of Jesus's tomb where he was resurrected from, but I know he's real and I know he exists, just like the stories of Moses. I've never been to Egypt, but I know the Red Sea and what had to happen and transpire there. So I don't have to physically be there to believe it. That's the whole game.
Yeah, man. So, all right, break it down for us, man. Where did give us the details on the channel, man? Where do people tune in? What's the schedule like there? All that good stuff.
Yeah, man. So it's youtube.com/getting things done. That's really simple. Getting things done on YouTube. If you just search it, getting things done. That's GUN. But that's where you can find me. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at JDun RRP. But basically the schedule is I upload videos weekly, whether that's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. And I'm always dropping little nuggets on my social media. So I would say follow me everywhere you can. Most of the time I try to mirror my social media. So of course, if I put something on Twitter, then it'll be on my Instagram, it'll be on my TikTok. But sometimes there is a change. But if you want to keep up with the most relevant information, definitely follow me on Instagram at JDunRRP.
Thank you for hopping on here, man, and giving us this insight, dude.
Yeah, my pleasure, bro. Believe me when I tell you, it has been an honor to be on the podcast with you guys, and just to spread the positivity and the love for the VR metaverse space, as well as just going through the history lesson of Rapture, man. I love it, man. So shout out to everything you guys are doing at FiveTwenty Collective, and what the Lord is constantly going to yield for both of us as we begin to continue to build what the kingdom looks like going forward.
Yeah, man. And again, guys, it's JDun. He is from Rapture Ready Productions, getting things done on YouTube. Go and support what him and the team have going on. Again, you can find him on social media at JDunRRP. A lot of cool stuff, man. A lot of stuff that I don't really know about, but man, I've been learning by watching his videos and following what he's doing. So go and check him out. Follow and support to the sponsors of this interview, including the Bookkeeper 24/7. Check them out, tbk247.com. Big shout out to the rest of our episode sponsors, and we'll catch you guys back here on the next episode of the FiveTwenty Collective Podcast. Let's go.